Hi there, I'm Michelle Frost, the host of the Fit Mind, Fit Body podcast. Welcome to the Delirious West series, where we follow everyday runners preparing for the Delirious West 100 and 200 mile events in April 2025. In today's update, we'll check in with one of our athletes to hear how their training is progressing, the challenges they're facing, and the victories that keep them moving forward. Whether you're training for your first ultra or simply enjoy inspiring stories, you're in the right place. Let's dive in and see how our athlete is doing this month. Today on Fit Mind, Fit Body, we are chatting with another delirious athlete, checking in to see how the training's going. Glen Smetherham, how are you going?
Not too bad, thank you. How are you?
How was Christmas? I'm great. I'm dealing with internet issues, so hopefully we don't have too many while we're chatting. But how was your Christmas, New Year period?
Christmas Day was good. So I got in a nice long run. And then we had just a quiet, just a few family members over. So we had a quiet lunch. And actually Boxing Day was pretty good for me, but late Boxing Day, my wife Deb got unwell, and then followed by me the next day. And yeah, we had about 3 or 4 days of just feeling absolutely horrible.
Oh, was it like overindulgence at Christmas, or was it COVID, or just some other thing?
No, it was her brother wasn't able to come over, but the rest of the family did. And he stayed home because he was unwell. So we assumed that there was just they had the bug.
Whatever it was.
And gave it to us as a Christmas present. So
wow.
Yeah. But
That's
it was
nice.
just, it was I think it was about 4 or 5 days just feeling horrible.
Yeah. Oh, that's no good. Oh, at least it was just after Christmas rather than during the Christmas period.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that means your running would have taken a bit of a back step, or your training?
Yes. I had planned a long overnight run that weekend, but we just pushed it back a week. So, and I'd already had missed a few days because, it was the last 4 weeks haven't been the smoothest. So I had, I think it was probably the day after I spoke to you last, I was in the garage and tripped and smashed my foot onto a bit of metal that was basically, I thought it was just, it was right on my heel, and so I've had some insertional Achilles pain, but also a little bit of ankle pain on and off since then. I've still been able to mostly run. I've had got a couple of longer runs in, but it's also it's still there. It's just a little bit niggly. Even today, I ran this morning, and I probably shouldn't. I did a little section of sand this morning down near the coast, and I probably shouldn't have done that because just with that longer ground contact time with sand, the foot, the ankle was probably a little bit unstable, and so it's a little bit niggly now.
Yeah, could have fired it up again.
Yeah, but otherwise, I mean, I ran. What did I do? I had the almost a week off after Christmas, then a few easy runs the following week, and then myself and friend Alexis, we did a overnight. It was about 70k run. We made a route with there was 10 24-hour IGA stores, and the rule was we had to eat from those. We couldn't take anything else, so we had to buy something at least something at each store.
That's very cool, and it went well then.
A couple of times it was a struggle. You walk in and you're looking around for something very plain, and but we didn't. No, it was managed it quite well actually. So it was good stomach training, good gut training there. Ate quite a lot, but paced it. The running was done very easy. We took all night to do it. And everything stayed down, so that was good.
And did you get pretty tired towards the end of it? So it's quite an unusual way to challenge yourself, but probably puts you into a bit of a space similar to what
a little bit sleepy, but yeah, sort of a coffee at the last stop, and I think I had a gel. Oh, no, I didn't have a gel. What did I have? I must have had something with caffeine in it early on. I can't remember what I had now. But yeah, got a little bit sleepy towards the end. But then, a couple of coffees before driving home, and we're all good.
And then did you have to have like the whole day having a rest to get your sleep back? How'd that work?
Pretty much, yeah. I tried to, as with these things, this happened a few times in the past. You think you think you're going to get home and fall asleep, but you get home and you can't. So I think I actually did manage an hour's sleep this time.
Okay.
In the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then it's just you miss a full night of sleep, and it was just maybe the next couple of days just a little bit fuzzy before everything's working properly again.
Takes a while to straighten out. And I imagine, talking about recovery, which I guess we'll go into a little bit more in a few more episodes down the track, but that's what it will be like on the other end of the actual event too, that recovery phase.
Yes. So physical recovery, I find after Delirious is I recover quicker than, say, a 100-miler race, because you've had some sleep and you're going at an easier effort. After the race, generally after the race, the legs, everything feel a lot better than they would with a more intense run. But the mental fatigue can take weeks. So
sounds like COVID.
It's more. It's more that wanting. You just. I find I just want an afternoon nap every day for.
Yeah.
Well, as long as I can do it.
As long as I can get away with it.
Yeah, a few weeks of napping every day, and then everything. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I find that's, as far as recovery goes, that's the main thing.
I hadn't thought about that because we just did a little hike yesterday. It was only like 20 odd kilometers, but it was 900 meters up or something. And I'm quite tired today. And I'm thinking, wow, I know I've got to do that and a lot more coming up with Delirious. So interesting.
Yeah, but you can. I mean, that's you probably felt, and you probably will feel in Delirious in the first 30 to 50 Ks. You'll probably say to yourself, I'm really tired and I'm feeling, you might be a little bit achy, and then most people will say, well, if I feel like this now, how am I going to do 200 miles? But you'll feel better. You'll be surprised. You'll be, a day later or 2 days later, you'll look back and you'll be surprised that you're actually feeling better than you were 30 Ks into the run. So
walking in, jogging into your fitness kind of thing over the length of time that we do it for. Yeah. All right. Well, what have you got planned for the next few weeks? What does it look like for you?
I will. What have I got? So the main thing now is just to manage this little niggle. So I'm okay running. I just need to be careful not to do too much or anything silly.
Yeah.
So no big overnight runs for a little while. But although it felt fine during that.
Yeah. So
it's just something that feels good for a while, then can flare up a little bit. I mean, I also had a long run last Thursday, and that was like a run walk. So it was I think we were probably out there nearly 5 hours or 5 hours or something. So I could feel it, but it wasn't stopping me. So, but I've just got to make sure I don't
trigger it somehow.
Yeah, and I don't sort of just fall into the habit of thinking, oh, it's okay, I can feel it, but I keep going, because it's better if I don't feel it. So I'll have to do a little bit to work on that, and looking at just being a little bit more careful with, as I said, I'll leave the sand out. It's just I have a loop that's got maybe 1 kilometre of sand. So it wasn't that I was after sand; it was just part of the run.
Yeah.
But I'll just leave that out for the next couple of weeks, and I'll be a little bit picky with the shoes I wear, and it should settle down pretty quickly, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
So really, it's just starting to. So I will be. If it wasn't for that, I would be starting to get a little bit more specific with some of the runs,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be starting to do some back-to-back long run weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Just a few changes with the snow, pretty much the same, but just getting a little bit more specific, and then sort of building from there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just I'll just push that sort of more specific stuff back a couple of weeks, and hopefully that's all going to be fine.
I'm sure it will. Do you do much planning? When do you start your plan? Like, I've spoken to some people who have like the big spreadsheet that they work out how, when, I guess it helps their crew when to expect them in different places within a, hour or 2 hour range or whatever it is, and what food or clothes.
I'll usually,
what does that look
like? Maybe on the drive down, I might chat to a crew. No, I don't really plan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm prepared. I'm prepared for anything, and sort of I know what I know roughly where I'm going to be in the pacing, but I don't really like having I'll be here at this time sort of plan, because they can change very quickly.
Yeah.
And generally, I find if I have a crew, which is something I have to arrange soon, if I have crew, usually it's at each aid station, you'd find you'd be adjusting your plan anyway if you had one. So it's more they get a good idea of how you're moving. You let them know how you're feeling, and if I'm going to be roughly the same for the next one, or I just find that works better.
Do they track you? How do they know where you are necessarily?
Well, they do have we've all got the spot tracker when we're running, so the crew can, if they're in an area with with coverage, they can see where we are. Sometimes they're a little bit off, but I find generally that you can give them a good idea of how long you'll be for the next day, especially I'm quite lucky that I run it before, so I know which sections slow down, and you can't just pick that off the elevation profile, and even year to year with if there's a section that may have been really slow the previous year because of a bit of overgrown track, and then it's been cleared, you may move a lot quicker through there.
Yeah.
So it's just good to be flexible, but like I said, I'm well prepared for anything, but not planning, no.
So a lot of people that I've talked to have talked about having lots of everything. So I hadn't thought about it, but having at least one spare bladder, for example, to go in your vest. I had never even thought about my bladder breaking. Like, it just didn't occur to me that it might, let alone a spare vest as well, because I hadn't thought about throwing all my old versions of those in along. So just in case, because I could use those if need be. Is there any kind of magic that you have when it comes to what you do with those kind of things? Extras of everything?
Yeah, so I try and add a few extra things in. I like to maybe a good thing to do a couple of weeks out. You don't want to do it too close because it can be stressful. But if you make a list of everything that can go wrong, so again, you don't want to be thinking of that the few days before. But if you do that a few weeks before, so for instance, you might you think, if your pole might break, or bladder, things like you mentioned, bladder or straps, and then on the list you write next to it what you would do to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And that way, if you be as imaginative as possible. You try and something that you think is no chance, but you just write it all down if you think of it or not, or if you think it's going to happen or not. And then if you write down how you will solve the problem, and some of them will have, you'll just look at it and go, well, I can't solve that problem. So if you can't, then don't worry about it. If it's something so bad that you can't solve it, it's not worth worrying about. But all the other ones, you'll already have the solution. So if it's something, then you can take extra, or if it's something that you can get your crew to do. The main thing is you may be coming into an aid station with your crew there, and you say, "Oh, this happened," but then you'll know straight away. You go, "Oh, can you do this to fix it?"
Because you've thought
Things like,
about
I
it.
mean, I have, for years I've had, I probably should replace it. For a few years I've had some duct tape wrapped around
Yeah.
my poles, just in case. I mean, if something happens and it's there, if something happened now and I went to get it off, it probably, it'd probably disintegrate. So I should replace that. But and that was from just thinking of things that could go wrong, and okay, well, like it's easy enough to just wrap just a few times around a pole. It doesn't add any weight. It's there always, nice and easy to
Yeah.
get to.
That's a great idea.
But
I was
everyone will be
thinking
different
duct
with
tape.
this.
It's funny when you said that, is there something that you could not, I wasn't thinking about taking it myself though. I was thinking about telling Simon to have some with you because duct tape solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, especially if you're halfway, in between aid stations.
Yeah.
I mean, it can do lots of. It can fix a broken pole. It can, it might even fix a bladder if to get you
Yeah.
to the next one. I've repaired shoes. When shoes have been ripped. Yeah, so it's but you also don't want to. You don't want to have this list and then fill up your pack with another 5 kilos of.
That's
So
right.
you just got to be very selective.
Totally understand that. Yeah, I love those ideas. I'm going to do that. I'm going to write myself a little list of all the things that could go wrong but will not, and then work out how I would solve them, and then put it in place. Whether it's a spare
Well,
something,
that's the thing. It takes
gaffer.
away a lot of the. Yeah, and it can take away a lot of a lot of the stress that people have thinking about things that can go wrong, because if you've already thought about it and thought of a solution, then you can just file that away and you don't have to then sort of worry about
What else is there
you
to
don't
worry
need
about?
to worry about it.
Yeah, I love that. Now, I've also been looking at camper vans that we're going to get. Now, something small. I'm trying to picture in my head where your support crew, like, are they mostly on off-roady type roads, or is it?
A lot of it, yes.
Yeah.
And most of the spots, I mean, there are a couple of aid stations that, well, no crew are allowed.
Yes, I've seen that.
And some of the others can be a little bit bumpy, and I think it depends on the conditions of getting the camper van. They might say you're not allowed to take it off road.
Off-road, yes.
I think most people still do.
Especially like something
Because
that's
they're,
okay, like it's okay road. It's like, as long as it's
yeah,
not, as you said, full of ruts and big potholes and
that's
things
right.
that you have to worry about.
I think the worst is just it'd be a little bit bumpy, some of them, but I don't think there's anything really too gnarly.
That's good.
But again, I've never done that side of it, so there could be some crew members listening right now thinking he knows nothing. So,
Well, if there is, can
I
they
don't know.
please leave us a note? Because we wouldn't mind knowing which places were particularly tricky, which is just fine. And then for our planning, we'll have a bit more information. Would be great. Thank you. Is there anything you're particularly worried about for your, like, the next few weeks? Is it just your little niggle, or are you thinking everything feels like it's pretty
No, that's other than that, everything's pretty good. I just want to let that settle down, because when I mean, yesterday's run felt fine, and when it's feeling good, everything else is feeling okay. I'm not too worried about. I'm not too worried about having a slightly lower volume for a few weeks. That's just, it is what it is. I try not to. I know a lot of the times if people have an injury or a niggle and are running less, they always think of they're losing fitness. But I try to think of it more as, like the fitness I've got, I've sort of just put it on a shelf and I'll get it back in a few weeks. So it's more that you're not gaining the maximum fitness you could, I suppose, rather than thinking of losing fitness. I mean, I'm not having a month of no running or a few weeks of no running. I still had I think last week a 55k week last week and 95 the week before.
Oh, wow.
and I'll probably be somewhere in between that this week. So yeah, I'm still doing okay.
Still ticking it over. There's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, but I would like it to be gone.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. Mind you, I think I've got lots of little niggles, but they never feel, I don't know about you, but I was talking to someone today after our hike yesterday. There was a few things going on with my feet where I was like, oh, that's really sore. And every time I put my foot down, I was like, that's really sore. And then, a K later, I couldn't have told you even which foot it was in almost, because it goes. I don't think they're phantom things, but there's some kind of, you're the podiatrist, but whether they're, ligaments or little, I probably have arthritis and stuff in my feet too, just little things. But then once you warm up a bit or whatever, or you change how you, just go.
And also being on a trail, just the variety step to step. So things can settle down a little bit if you sort of have enough variety in there. You're not just repeating the same steps. If you're walking on a flat road, something like that might get worse. Whereas on trails, I mean, I've had runs where I've had a couple of little niggles, and you sort of like a step a bit funny that instead of getting an injury, it's made it go away. So some things just sort of clicked back in place that may have been out.
Isn't that crazy?
But I don't mind if aches and pains move around, that's good. It's like the best way to get over an injury is to get a new one.
That's true.
So it's like a mini version of that is while you're running. Is if your best way to, if you've got an ache and then all of a sudden something else takes your focus, it's a little bit sore, and then when you think of it, the other one's gone. So you just want it to move around all the time.
So if it moves around, like say if it's in your foot and it moves around a fair bit, then it's probably not anything serious. Is that a good thing good way to think?
Yeah.
If it disappears?
No, that's.
I like that. I love it. That's what I'm going to go with. The same with my knee stuff, because I don't have my knee stuff all the time, but it comes and goes. So, just like every other human who's in their 50s heading towards their 60s, like me, I think the older we get, the more of those things we have.
Yeah, and the closer to race day as well, like race week, you'll get a couple of aches and pains, and you'll think, "Oh, what's this has come up?" And just forget it.
And a cold, probably get a cold as well, because you're usually thinking, no, I don't want any of those things, and that's when they kind of rush towards you. So I'll be trying not to get those either. Well, Glen, is there anything else you'd like to share about the training you've just done and the training coming up before we pop off and see you again in another few weeks?
No, I think as I said, once this niggle settles, I'll just add. I'll add a little bit more, a couple of bigger weekends. I'll add some more sand, but I only do enough to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So I don't want to. You do too much, and there's an increased injury risk there as well. So it's just getting a little bit more specific
about the terrain and things.
Yeah, and just making sure. I suppose just making sure I've got all the gear and everything sort of dialed in and ready. But again, I don't think there's anything I need to change with what I've used before. I'll probably rush out and buy a new bladder and a new pack now, and just so I've got spares after you mentioned that.
Good idea. I think I might just dig out my old one.
Well, old pack I'd be happy, although I think I do have an old pack, but the zips are a little bit funny. I don't know if I'd want to dig out an old bladder. I've probably got a couple of lying around, but they've probably still got stuff in them from last time I used them. I don't know.
No, I think mine are all cleaned out and then had trying to leave it open a little bit. But who knows? Yes, it'd be a good thing to check. Plus, plastic does deteriorate over time as well, so it could get brittle and break the bladders. So yeah, I should I'd check that before I confirm that. I was also going to throw a bunch of shoes in, including I've chosen the one to donate when I read our mandatory list.
Yes.
Although, so it's
shoes. It's good to have, especially if you've got crew. I mean, if you've got the space, have a few. But I would say don't if things are going well, don't change shoes. Sometimes everything feels good and someone might change shoes and then all of a sudden they're not feeling so, things aren't feeling so good.
That's good advice from a podiatrist.
So that's like if because sometimes you might, someone might plan to, okay, I'll probably change shoes at, whatever aid station. It's best to do it if you've got a reason, not just because you think, you'd be better off in a different pair. Just if things are feeling good, just leave things alone.
Leave sleeping dogs lie.
Yes.
Literally, let them just stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know I've always wanted to take my shoes off, but when you've been running a long way and your feet get hot, it's like, I just want to take them off. But it's not always because of that, though, is it? You just want to change your socks.
No.
That sort of stuff.
I take them off and change my socks and you certainly do all that foot care and stuff, but then instead of just changing shoes just for the sake of changing, like a new pair of shoes just for the sake of having something different, sometimes that can backfire.
I've got like this is like Michelle's consultation. I've got like a bunion on one of my toes, like I think it's not that uncommon for runners really, although not that that's what caused it. So after I've run a long time, that becomes quite a blister point. So I have been known to have old shoes with a side cut out a little bit so that stops putting the pressure. So I can imagine that further on in the event that I might call on a pair of those, for example. But that's not terrain focused, more the mechanics.
Yeah, and if if you've got an area that's going to be a problem, that's where you could do something like a patch in the shoe, or if that's going to be a problem, then whenever you change shoes, perhaps a little bit of tape and some lube over that before you put the sock on can help, just so the sock's going to move. You're just providing that little bit of lubrication there.
A bit more buffer.
That works well if it's a spot but I would also have that option with the cutaway for the shoes, because the last thing you want to do is start cutting away if you've got a pair already and then you forgot them. Yeah.
Yes.
But people do that too. You might end up cutting up some new shoes if it means you're going to finish.
Is it worth $280? Probably. Who knows? Anyway.
Well, it's that or the cost of coming back again. Yeah. So I would say yes.
That's true. That is a very good point. All right. Thank you, Glen. It's been a delight to check up on you.
Thank you.
Sorry you've had a few ups and downs, but it sounds like they've not really been a problem, more of a bit of a chance to have a rest and then get back into it again, which has been great. So thanks for sharing that with us. It's been awesome, and we will talk to you again in a couple of weeks. Well, about 4.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. And that's a wrap for another Delirious West athlete update. A huge thank you to the athletes for sharing their journeys, and to you, our listeners, for joining us on this delirious adventure. Remember, it's not just about the finish line. It's about the journey, the community, and the moments that keep us moving forward. Keep rooting for our runners and tune in for next month's check-ins to see how their training is unfolding. If you're enjoying this series, we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a review and share the podcast with your friends. Let's all get a little delirious together. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode or an update. Connect with us on the website, on Facebook, or on Instagram. And we'd love to hear your stories and support you on your running journey. Stay strong, stay motivated, and keep pushing your limits. Until next time.